The morning sun spilled over the sprawling lawns of Green Lake Park, painting the dew-kissed grass with a golden shimmer, and 17-year-old Aaliyah rolled along the paved path with the familiar rhythm of her wheelchair wheels turning beneath her hands, each push steady, controlled, practiced after years of maneuvering through a world that often seemed built for everyone but her. Yet she carried herself with a grace that even her wheelchair could not diminish, her mother walking beside her. For a while before stopping at the drinking fountain and asking if she wanted water, to which Aaliyah had shaken her head with a quiet smile and said she was fine, preferring to linger under the shade of a massive oak tree where the breeze carried the laughter of children, the barks of dogs, and the music of carousel rides spinning in the distance, because for her, this park was more than just open space. It was a place where she could dream without boundaries, sketch without interruptions, and imagine herself in worlds not dictated by the weight of pitying stares or whispered cruelty, so she reached into her bag and pulled out her sketchbook, the leather edges worn and softened from years of use, flipping to a blank page and letting her pencil glide across it, each line forming the gentle curves of the carousel's horses, their frozen gallop captured in her mind and transferred to paper with delicate precision, and as she worked, she felt a rare moment of peace, her dark curls brushing against her forehead, her brown skin glowing under the sunlight, her heart whispering that perhaps today could be good, but that fragile hope shattered when the sound of mocking laughter cut through the air like a sharp blade, dragging her back to the reality she wished she could ignore, and when she looked up, she saw them. The Lockharts, a family whose wealth was infamous in the city, known for striding into places as though they owned them, their expensive clothes a loud proclamation of status, their arrogance thicker than the perfume Olivia Lockhart always wore, a sickly sweet scent that seemed to linger even after she had left, and Olivia herself led the way, her golden hair glinting in the sun, her eyes sharp and cold, her lips curled into a smirk that promised nothing good, flanked by her twin brothers Dylan and Derek, both tall, broad, and as smug as they were cruel, the kind of boys who thought their father's fortune gave them a free pass to trample over others, and the moment their gazes locked on Aaliyah, she knew the sanctuary of her morning had been invaded, for Olivia tilted her head like a predator circling prey and said in a voice loud enough for passers-by to hear, "Well, look at this, the park comes with entertainment today." A little girl in her toy car, and Dylan laughed, striding forward with his designer sneakers scraping against gravel as he grabbed the back handles of Aaliyah's wheelchair and gave it a sudden sharp push, just enough to make her heart leap in her chest and her pencil nearly snap in her hand, while Derek bent down and peered at her sketchbook with a mockery that felt like poison dripping into her soul. "What's this supposed to be? Horses? Don't waste your time, no one cares what cripple art looks like," and Olivia cackled, leaning over and flicking the edge of her page so hard it smudged the careful lines she had drawn, whispering cruelly, "Oops, guess sitting down all your life means you can't protect what's yours," and though Aaliyah's face burned, her throat tightened, and her fingers trembled, she forced herself not to cry, not to give them that victory, because she had promised herself long ago that tears were a luxury she would not give to bullies, but as she looked around, desperate for someone, anyone, to intervene, she saw only silence, parents tugging their children away, joggers pretending not to notice, couples turning their heads as though looking away erased what was happening, and that silence hurt more than the Lockhart's words, because it reminded her that cruelty often thrived in the shadow of people's cowardice, yet just when her chest felt like it might collapse under the weight of humiliation, the air shifted, the hum of the park seemed to fade, and footsteps approached with a deliberate weight that silenced even Olivia's laughter, and emerging from the crowd was a man who looked out of place in the polished environment of the Lockharts, tall with weather-worn skin and steel-gray eyes that cut through arrogance like glass, his rugged jacket hanging loosely over broad shoulders, his boots caked with dust as though he had walked through storms and deserts alike, his face carved with lines of experience, not age, and when he stopped beside Aaliyah's wheelchair, his shadow fell across her like a shield, and the park seemed to hold its breath, for his voice, when he finally spoke, was low but carried a weight that rippled across every ear within reach. "Is this what strength looks like to you?" he asked, his gaze fixed on Olivia and her brothers, his tone calm but laced with steel, "Mocking a girl because she's in a wheelchair? Because you think your money makes you untouchable?" And Olivia tried to smirk but her lips faltered under the weight of his presence, while Dylan puffed out his chest, his voice cracking with forced bravado, "Who even are you? You don't know us," but the man's eyes narrowed, silencing him with nothing but a look before he crouched to Aaliyah's level, his gaze softening as he gently lifted the corner of her sketchbook and studied the smudged carousel with genuine reverence. "You draw beautifully," he said in a voice only she could fully hear, firm yet tender. "Don't let people like this tell you otherwise," and something in his words lit a fire in Aaliyah's chest. A reminder that her art mattered, her voice mattered. She mattered, and when he straightened to his full height, towering over the Lockharts with a quiet authority that dwarfed their wealth and privilege, his voice rose again, not in anger but in the kind of conviction that carried across the silent park. "Let me tell you something about poverty," he said, his steel eyes piercing into Dylan, Derek, and Olivia. "Poverty isn't about money. It's about decency, about kindness, and right now I see 3 of the poorest kids I've ever laid eyes on," and the park erupted in murmurs. The crowd who had been silent now stirred with whispers of agreement, shame replacing indifference, eyes narrowing at the Lockharts instead of Aaliyah, and Olivia's face flushed crimson, her mask of arrogance cracking as she stammered, "You don't know who my father is." But the stranger cut her off with a look so sharp it could slice through steel. "I don't need to know who raised you, I can see exactly who you are," he said, his voice a blade of truth, "and so does everyone else now," and the weight of collective judgment pressed against the Lockharts until their smugness crumbled, their retreat awkward and humiliated, whispers of disapproval trailing after them as they backed away. No longer predators but exposed cowards, and the stranger bent once more, returning Aaliyah's sketchbook to her lap with a faint smile that warmed the steel of his expression. "Keep drawing," he told her, his voice softer now, almost a whisper meant only for her, "because the world needs to see what you see, not what they say," and with that, he stood, turned, and walked into the parting crowd, his boots striking the pavement with the finality of justice delivered, and Aaliyah clutched her sketchbook to her chest, tears slipping down her cheeks not from pain but from the overwhelming relief that someone, one stranger, had seen her worth in a world that too often ignored it, and as she breathed in, the park around her seemed new again, alive again, carrying not the echoes of cruelty but the lingering resonance of courage, and she knew that this moment, this chapter of her life, had only just begun.